Hello, everyone. My name is Austin, and hey, welcome to the Disastrous Life of Saiki review. I will be reviewing the entire anime that we've been given. Even the not the Netflix stuff. The Netflix stuff I haven't gotten to yet, and I don't know if the Netflix stuff is even canon. But regardless, I'll be reviewing just the Saiki, just the entire shit. I have a confession to make, right? I've watched this series before. So, I'm rewatching it again because it's such a good show. Spoiler alert, right? You can click off the video now. It's a really good show, and it's a really good show to where it's easily rewatchable. Like, that's how good this show is. But if you want to keep, listening on to my other thoughts of this show, then please stick around, right? Stick around. So before we go into the deeper logistics of everything, I probably can't use anime footage, nor can I use manga panels. I don't trust those Japanese copyright laws. So everything here I'll be describing from words. So what is the Disastrous Life of Saiki, or Saiki for short? So Saiki is an anime about this pink-haired guy with the cool hairpin that looks like an alien, right? Looks like an alien. His name is Kazuo Saki, aka Saki K. If you do like the European, the outside world thing where you have the surname first and the first name, you get the idea. So Kazuo, he's hanging out by himself, and he's just living a normal life, right? But what makes him super different? What makes him super wacky and super crazy? That he has to have an entire dedicated show about this one guy. The reason why he's special is that he has psychic powers. And obviously, what are psychic powers, right? So in the show, he describes it as you can just bend shit. You can manipulate crap and stuff like that. But for the logistics of this review, basically anything you want. Basically any fucked up thing, teleportation, clairvoyance, doing a bit of alchemy, transformation, literally anything. Anything you can imagine. This character, anything you can imagine that's super magical, super shit, super speed, super strength, literally everything. This man is literally just God. This man is literally this is the perfect human. But there's a twist. This is a comedy about a powerful psychic human, and obviously with great power comes great responsibility, and also great downsides. This power also makes him really I guess it also troubles him, right? And it also inconveniences him on top of, I guess, being cool and stuff like that. So, in the show he describes it as OMG, it's cool, you say, but actually it's not. And so you basically get to see the life of a guy looking for peace and quiet. But he also happens to be the most OP person in his world. And you basically get to see him interact with everything and just see how his powers just mess up shit or help shit. And, as the seasons go on, right? As the seasons goes on, his powers become even wackier. And so thus his normal experiences become zany. So wacky that, Moist Critical would literally just shit his pants if he sees this fucking show. Because this show is just wacky. You know what I mean? You have psychic powers, and you have just dumb humor, and you have self-awareness and meta commentary. This shit's out of the water. Right? This shit's out of the water. This show, I don't know. It's one of those shows, right? Before we explain the other stuff, this show, it's very I don't know. It's the way I would describe the show is, it's very, very. It's very, very strong in the way it delivers its comedy. Because this is a comedy show, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. I probably didn't. But this is a very comedic show. And it's a very, it's a very strong show. And what do I mean by this? Is that you watch the show as many times as you want. You drop the show obviously as soon as you finish it, and you have one day you have an itch to like, oh, I want to watch an anime again. Oh, you rewatch this show, and like you remember a lot of these scenes and stuff, and you remember everything that happens in the show as soon as you rewatch everything. You're like, oh yeah, this shit happens. This shit happens. Oh yeah, I recognize this. I recognize this character. But like even still, even if you like remember everything, you can still rewatch this show because this show is just so good in the way it delivers its jokes, the commentary, and the overall self-awareness it has. That it's a show you could rewatch for like ever, dude. It's I mean, granted you can't watch it back to back to back to back, but hey, drop the show, you come back about a couple months later, you watch the show again, and it fucking slaps all the fucking time. It is honestly a masterclass, right? So think of like Smosh shorts or the Smosh. Think of like Smosh sketches, kind of. Think of that, or think of like Rick and Morty, but like but they're like sketches, right? They're like sketches, and you stitch 5 of these sketches into one episode, and these sketches. Imagine these sketches also have a bit of plot. So it's not just an episodic thing where OMG the next episode it just like resets and everything goes back to normal. Sometimes it does, but there is plot, there is story that time has really passed, and like if you enjoy plot and lore, like this show can also be really really interesting as well, right? Because it's so self-aware and it's so meta. So there is a lot to like. Oh, so if you're just here for laughs, this show will give you that. This show will give you that. But if you're here for some interesting lore and some interesting ways of storytelling, this show is there as well. This show is also here to provide that. And what do I mean by this? What do I mean by this? Let's talk about the self-aware aspect. The self-aware aspect I think is super interesting. Is that like a lot of the times the show would just make fun of itself. Right? Oh, like for example, one of the, I guess it's one of the critiques of the show could be, OMG, why is there like, certain character, I guess assets that flip, right? Why are there certain like character assets that are being used all the fucking time? Like, oh, why is this guy's face being used like 10 fucking times? Or why is this happening when normally this should not happen, right? And this show, it's very self-aware in that, it turns those like inconsistencies into prides, into joys. It's like, oh, instead of this being a weakness to the show, as to like, oh, the show is being careless, it somehow turns that weakness into like, oh, the show actually is embracing that like silliness. You could argue that OMG, it gives them a chance to be lazy, sure, I guess, but in a way, if you can cover up that, then if you can make it work, like if you could to have find a good example of it, like Saiki K, like early in the show, he talks about like, OMG, why do characters like whenever their clothes are like fucking off, why does it always cover their crotches? And like why do characters have like bright hair and like are always thinking super fast? It's like, because I said so. Because I said so. Like, you know what I mean? Like in a way, it's kind of it's very self-aware, and it's a very meta show, but it never tries to be. It never tries to be. It just works with the universe. Because like there are other shows like Deadpool, right, or like Rick and Morty. I'm not sure about Rick and Morty. I haven't watched the show. I'm gonna be honest, but I know Deadpool, right? Deadpool. The reason why he's like always so meta and self-aware is because that's just part of his character. Like that's just part of his character. It's just the way it's always been. But in Saiki K, sure the characters are meta and self-aware, but like it always feels like it's part of the lore. Like it's not just a character trait; it's just part of the lore. Like if there's weird inconsistencies, it makes sense in the lore. And that's something that I think that most people could appreciate, right? Because nowadays people are really really upset about like meta commentary shows and like fucking self-aware shows, People don't like them because it's overdone. It's oversaturated. Why do you think Rick and Morty is such like a it's such a meme to show? It's something that people reference as like a nerd show. You know what I mean? Oh, you have to be super smart and intelligent to understand you have to have a high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. Like this show, like yeah, it's self-aware, it's meta. You know what I mean? Like the main character is constantly poking holes into literally every fucking thing. The main character is always talking to you, and there are weird, dumb inconsistencies that like just don't make any fucking sense, but they're always hilarious. You know what I mean? Because there's just like jokes and shit like that just work because they like the guy who makes the show, right? Like it's never forced. Like the meta commentary is part of the lore, right? It's part of the lore. It's not just a character trait. It's not just a because he said so thing. Well, I mean, okay, actually, that's such a lie. A lot of the show is like, you know what? Just get rid of believability and just go along with it. But like, it feels canonical. You know what I mean? I hope I get that message across because that's just one of the best aspects of it. But even still, like, besides like the meta commentary and the self-awareness, the show also just does really good humor in that there's no bad jokes or anything. And even if there were bad jokes, it's like funny on purpose. And I don't know why. This show feels like ironic. You know what I mean? Like it does it does like the stupidest like oldest tricks in the books. Like OMG, a character said, oh, or like the main character Saiki K, right? Kazuo Saki. He comes in, he's like, oh, peace and quiet. I hope nobody disturbs me. And then and then everybody in the vicinity starts coming in just to ruin his life. Like after Wednesday, like it's just a dumbass trope, but it just works. You know what I mean? Because this show never asks you to take it seriously. There is lore, there is story, there is progression, there is canonical things that happen. But also at the same time, this show is not to be. This show is not to be taken seriously. Like I know for Deadpool, for example, right? Like there's an actual story going on in Deadpool. Like obviously, let's say for example, the Deadpool movies, because I've seen those, so I can give a good example of that. Like actual shit does happen in the movies, and obviously Deadpool often shows up and breaks the fourth wall commentary. But that's just like a quirky thing of Deadpool, right? That's a quirky thing, but there's an actual story going on, and there are actual serious moments. But him popping out of the thing, that's just the Deadpool quirk. But in Saiki K, like the meta breaks, all that shit, that's part of the universe, and it just works. You know what I mean? It just works. I mean, there's an actual reason. Like, there's a reason why everything works. It's at the end of the show. It's like a spoiler, but I'm not gonna discuss that here. But like everything, like it's not forceful, right? And that could be part of the self-aware aspect, but it's just not forceful the way it is. It does dumb jokes, you know what I mean? Like for example, like what I told you earlier. But another thing is that it abuses character tropes to the max, you know what I mean? Like they give you like a half-assed reason for like these character tropes existing, and they just crank it to the max. They are not sorry with it. You know what I mean? Like they know these tropes are stupid, but they'll crank them up to the max anyway. And because that, it makes it funny. It makes it hilarious. Like, okay, sure. One character's whole gimmick is like the most boring thing. Okay, in Demon Slayer, right? People hate Zenitsu because he's always a crybaby. Like, nobody likes one-sided characters. But in this show, you're not looking for that. Right? In this show, you're just here for some dumbass laughs and for some dumbass humor. And this show will give that to you. I mean, like, characters, they're not deep, but, like, you don't care. Like, that's how good, like, it focuses on dumb humor. Like, characters, like, they're retarded, or they're not smart, or, they're really, like, stupid, or, like, they're really, I don't know, beautiful, or angry, or, like, whatever, right? Like these characters, they all have this one-sided thing to them, but it just works because they're not ashamed to tell you, right? They're not ashamed to tell you. Everybody but the main character has no depth to them, and it just goes along with it. It goes along with it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the time, you know what I mean? That's lazy writing. Some of these jokes are not profound. They're not deep comedy, you know? This show never asked. This never show once asked you to, like, I guess, take itself seriously. It never did. I mean, there are serious aspects to the show. There is, but it's very underlined. Like, you would have to actually pay attention to it. Like this show is catering towards an audience who just wants to turn off their brain and just have just like the dumbest shit repeat to you. You know what I mean? Just the dumbest stuff. Like like one of the characters in Saiki K, The Disastrous Life of Saiki K. One of the characters is that one of his like funny things that he does, that he just shows his ass crack. You know what I mean? He shows his fucking ass crack, and like it's just funny. Like there's no punchline. He just shows his ass. I'm just like, I mean, but like it's just funny. I mean, the way I'm saying it, it's not funny, but like it's kind of like the comedic humor of it. It's like very slapstick. That's the correct word for it. That's like very slapstick humor, like physical humor. You know what I mean? Like, like a character will be doing something, and all of a sudden their ass just shows that. Like it's never like OMG. Like, it's never on purpose, right? Like, this character shows his ass on purpose just to make you laugh, right? It's not forced. It's not a forced joke. Haha, I showed my ass. This is funny. No, it just so happens that this guy just shows his ass. That's what makes it funny. It's not like, this is like his main thing. It's just like, well, there he goes again. There he goes again. You know what I mean? And, like, obviously, there's not much of a difference. But when you watch the show, you're not going to care. Because you're not, like if you're here for like deep humor, this show is horrible. But if you're here for just some dumbass laughs, this show is just good. The show is good. This show never once asks to be dumb or crazy, or this show never asks you to invest deeply. You know what I mean? It never does. This is like just wacky bullshit. You know what I mean? I know there are plenty of anime that I've been told, like Baki, for example. I've heard that show is just pure wackiness. I haven't seen the show myself, but from what my friends have told me, and like from what people online have told me, Baki is like just a show where nothing makes sense, but that's what makes it funny. Well, I don't know. Like, I can't say it like Saiki K is like Baki. But the way they describe Baki is the way I see, like, Saiki K, for example. Like shit just doesn't make sense, but you know what? You'll go along with it because it just makes sense, even though none of it makes sense. I mean, it's really just an anime masterpiece. You know what I mean? It's an anime masterpiece, and it's something that I'm very sad to see it end, but, it ended a couple years ago. And obviously Netflix did its own little reboot thing, but the show has officially ended, and it's something that like I'll always treasure. You know what I mean? It's one of the first comedy anime I've watched. I'm a new guy. I'm a new generation. Obviously I started anime pretty late because I'm a young guy. But like it's one of the first comedy anime I watched, and it's one of my top animes of all time. Just because, like, you can rewatch the shit. It's just funny. Like, it's just funny, and you can turn off your brain to it. It's fucking awesome. It has deep aspects, right? Like, meta commentary, self-awareness, shit like that. But it also has dumb aspects, where just, like, tropes being used to the max. Fucking just dumb deliveries that just work. You know what I mean? That's another thing, right? Like the show, like the jokes itself aren't really funny, but the way they deliver it, it's just magnificent. Like, the way they just deliver it, it's just magnificent. Like that's a good way to describe the show as well. Like the show itself, it's just dumb humor, but it has strong delivery, so it's a powerful joke despite it being really simple. So that's just the Disastrous Life of Saiki K. I could go more into like the plot more, right? But like I said in the beginning, it's like Smosh sketches woven into like episodes and shit. Like a lot of it, there is like continuity and there is a bit of like plot going on, if you really like the world, if you're really immersed in the world, there is shit going on. But most of you who are looking for a comedy anime, because this is what this show is, I'm probably not going to go for it. So I'm not going to go into the plot or whatever. And it does get really interesting. It does get really interesting later in the seasons. But if you're here for some dumb laughs, yeah, it's fucking fun. And the sketches, you can rewatch them, but then you'll come back later and you'll still enjoy them again, even if it's like, oh, you've already seen this. Just like a Smosh sketch, right? Just like a Smosh sketch. You've seen every single old Smosh video, but every once in a while you come back and you rewatch it, and you're like, ah, yeah, this joke was so funny. But you know what? You let the thing play anyway. You let the goddamn thing play anyway, because it's just fun. It's just fun, right? It doesn't matter how many times you've seen it. It's just fun. So, 10 out of 10 show. It is a masterclass show. Yeah, that's about it. I hope I don't repeat myself. Hopefully I don't come off as, inexperienced or whatever. I don't script my stuff. I talk. Everything is just pure out of my ass. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, it's a show that it works. It's so fun that I'm willing to talk about it. Right? I don't have to explain myself. But it's just a show that it just works. I just need to tell you all about it. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, that's it. Goodbye.